Good morning, Gerard. How y'all doing? Wow, that was lame.
Please stand with us.
Good morning, iFire. How y'all doing this morning?
everybody.
Let's get in. Let's get in. I'm not going to be the only one excited up here.
He whispers in my ear, tells me that I'm fearless. He shares a melody, tells me to repeat it. And it makes me whole. It reminds my soul I am whole. He says I am. I am whole. Awesome. Go ahead, have a seat, make yourself comfortable, get cozy.
Yeah, so I got to experience my first daylight savings as a parent today, and that really means nothing, except we just all got up an hour earlier. So for all the parents out there, I feel ya. I always love today. Not
Carmen
today.
was up. Carmen
No.
was up an hour earlier than normal.
Yeah,
He's
oh,
like,
yeah.
it's dark out.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue to worship together. Thank you for being here this morning.
Oh, my soul, oh, how you worry, oh, how you're weary from fearing you've lost control. This is the one thing you didn't see coming, and no one would blame you, though. If you cried in private, if you tried to hide it away, so no one knows, no one will see if you stop believing. Oh, my soul, you are not alone. There's a place where fear has to face the God you know. One more day, He will make a way. Let Him show you how you can lay this down. 'Cause you're not alone.
So here we are this morning, and as we sing that phrase, "You're not alone," I feel like it's become this phrase that's used so often that we forget how powerful it can be. As we gather together and as we come together as a community, we are living proof that we're not alone in this journey that we're walking. And each day and each week as we come together, we learn that more and more because we develop these relationships. But something that's hard and something that this song talks about is that we're going to experience doubt and pain and suffering and grief. And in those moments, that's when that phrase needs to be acted out. So we can say, oh, you're not alone, but then we actually need to do it. We need to show people that they're not alone. It's not just something that we say to them. And how do we do that? It's something that's sometimes challenging for us. How do we show up for people that are going through pain? Well, how we do that, we kind of first have to talk about what we shouldn't do. We shouldn't be avoiders. We shouldn't try to be fixers when someone is hurting. All we need to do is show up and hold space for them, to just sit with them quietly and be a witness to their life and what's going on. So this week, seek out those people in your life that you know are going through pain. And if it's you that's going through that pain, let me tell you something. Pain is proof that love was once there. Pain is proof that love was once there, and guess what? That love's gonna come back. So work through the pain and remember that pain is just love's souvenir, and that love's gonna come back. So as we sing today and we remember that we are not alone in this journey, continue to show up for people who are in pain, and know that this community of people is here for you if you are going through something. And when we show up in a very healing, powerful, authentic way. And let's continue to do that as we sing together.
Here and now, you can be honest. I won't try to promise that someday it all works out. 'Cause this is the valley, and even now He is breathing on your dry bones. There will be dancing, there will be beauty where beauty was ash and stone. This much I know. Oh, my soul, you are not alone. There's a place where fear has to face the God there's a place where fear has to face the God you know. One more day, He will make a way. Let Him show you how you can lay this down. 'Cause you're not alone. Oh, my soul, you're not alone.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come here this day so grateful to realize that we are not alone. Not only do we have this community of faith, but we also have you. And even when that community can't be there for us, you always can. So teach us to lean on you as we walk through our journey, as we experience pain and grief. Help us to know that it's proof of your love and that your love will come back to get us through whatever challenges we face. Be with Shane this morning as he shares a message that can be hard for us to hear and hard for us to handle, but it's such an important one to discuss. Help us to be open this morning, Lord, as we hear the words and the guidance coming from you through Shane and through the music this morning. We ask all of this in your name, in the name of Jesus, who taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Well, amen. Good morning. All right, that stunk. Let's try it again. Good morning. Good morning. You know, somebody at 9:30 actually said my name, Good morning, Shane. They get extra points. I can't believe 9:30 was up earlier than y'all. All right, my name is Shane Russo. I'm the Connections Coordinator here at Girard First UMC. And I usually say at this point, if you want to do anything or you want to know anything or anything, come look at me, come find me, and I can direct you to somebody who knows something and somebody who can get you to do something. So yeah, there you go. That's what I usually say, so why not just keep it? I am filling in for Pastor Vicky this week. Before I get onto the message, we have a couple of things. First, the announcements, which we have a new face for the announcements this week, which if it works out, she might stick around for a little bit. Also, I changed the music. I know most of you probably won't even care, but this is a big deal to me. We've used that same theme for like a year, and I changed it. I know, Jared's like, I'm out. Or who said no? Who was that? James? Whatever. So I changed the theme. So if you don't like it, it was actually Kaylee's idea. So she was the one who said, well, I don't like that one's so hard. It's like, it hurts my spirit. So so we'll go ahead and do the announcements, and then Phil Fisher has another very, very important announcement to make. He's going to do that personally.
When you give your money or items to collections like our current food drive, you are helping the church live out the call to help the needy in our community. It is impossible to bring people one step closer spiritually when their physical needs are not met. By giving your offering, you are breaking down barriers between the people in Girard and Jesus. You can text to give or give online by going to ifiregirard.com and clicking on Give. Or you can drop off your offering with your Connect card in the kiosk on the way out.
Nobody asked you, James.
And we are still collecting for the Emmanuel Community Care Center food drive for 2 more Sundays. Be sure to leave your filled bags in Wesley Hall by November 19th. Friend Day is next Sunday, November 12th. Pray about who you're going to invite, go invite that person, and then bring them to Friend Day. Oh, and invite them to game night too. The more time we spend together, the more we care for each other. So let's get together at our next game night. It is on Saturday, November 18th from 5 to 8 p.m. Bring your favorite game and a snack to share if you're able. Mark your Connect card if you are planning to come. Today is the last day to order your ham loaves from Lydia's Circle, so if you want some, get those orders in before you leave. If you are interested in taking another big step closer to God in our community and becoming a member of this church, then let us know on the back of your Connect card or see Pastor Vicky. Don't forget to follow iFire Girard on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay connected throughout the week, and YouTube to see all of our videos, including this one. When you give your money or
You liked it so much. I think Cheyenne is way more likable than the guy who normally does them. That's for sure. Phil?
Did like the music. Very nice.
Thank
Good
you,
choice.
thank you.
Good morning. Just a couple of announcements I want to make concerning our stewardship with the church. As we often talk about in the church, this is our, if you've watched the announcements, this is your giving at work, and we show all the wonderful programs we do. Well, 2 weeks from today is what we call Stewardship Sunday or Consecration Sunday, and it's at that point we'll make our decision of what financial commitment, what portion of our blessings that God has given us are we going to give back to God for 2018. So we have a tool for you in your insert when you came in. There was a chart or a graph, and I just want to real briefly explain what this is. Within our church, we have 292 giving units. And a giving unit could be either a family or an individual. And it's broken down towards their average weekly giving. And so if you look at these things, it's like a stair step on the bottom left-hand corner. At 0 would be 108 giving units. One step up is $0 to $5 a week, and so on. So what we're asking you to do is to carefully consider in prayer with God what portion of your income is God asking you to give back for 2018. And if you can, is God asking you to make that one step up? And I just want to leave you with one thought real quick is we don't give to pay the electric bill. We give because it's a form of worship to God. We're blessed. We have all these musicians up here that entertain us every week. It rains. We have a nice dry roof above us. So we're just giving back a part of the blessings that God has given to us. And we just ask you to consider prayerfully what portion of that are you going to give back next year. Thank you.
And one more announcement. Today at 2 o'clock at McDonald UMC is Charge Conference. So if you want to know what Charge Conference is, you'll have to ask Pastor Vicky when she comes back. No, it's where church business and in the denomination of our district and stuff, they do that. So if that's a thing for you, then 2 o'clock at McDonald UMC today. All right, so this week I did a dumb thing, and I know you're all shocked that I did a dumb thing. Hold on, first of all, I gotta move this table up. My coffee's too far away. It's actually going to be important in a minute. Yeah, I did a dumb thing this week, and I asked Angela to list things that she thinks I've either been addicted to throughout a relationship or am currently addicted to. And the list was so long that I actually had to pause and can we get some food? Because this is ridiculous. I'm being a little funny about that, but here is the list. Here's the list she gave me. Video games. Poker. Budgeting. I'm addicted to budgeting. Like, who's addicted to what? She actually said that. I was like, wait a minute now. She explained it. Made pretty good sense. YouTube. I'm addicted to YouTube, apparently. Sugar. Scaring people. Which, yeah, I might have a problem with that. And coffee. And one other thing that I'm not really sure I can share openly other than to say we don't have 3 kids for no reason. Now, I figured out how was I going to get that in there, because that was her number 1, by the way. That was number 1 on the list. So now I asked her to do this list. I asked her to make this list. So it's not like she came up to me and said, I think you're addicted to these things. I asked her to do this. Yet, as soon as she started doing it, I started making excuses, right? I started giving reasons, like why? So for example, I'm not addicted to video games. I just use them as a way to relax. And I used to use them as a way to relax for 14 hours a day. That was back before I had a real job. Or maybe that's why I didn't have a real job. I hardly ever play poker anymore. I've got to stay on top of the budget or else we're going to eat all of our money. And that is absolutely true. So every day, with every penny that's spent, we have to have a family meeting about every single penny. We used to anyway. She threatened to divorce me if I didn't stop that. I use YouTube. I honestly just use YouTube for work and for school. And top 10 lists and watching people do stupid things and video game walkthroughs and scare cam videos and, okay. I accused Angela of confusing things I like to do for things I can't live without, like scaring people. I can live without that, right? Except for I've literally wasted hours in a day watching other people scare people. So maybe I can't live without that. I have absolutely no excuse for coffee or sugar, because even in my own mind, those are addictions that are legit. So hello, my name is Shane, and I am addicted. Now, do you have a friend or a family member who struggles with addiction? Yeah, me too. Have you ever been hurt by that person who's struggling with their addiction? Yep, me too. Do you ever get annoyed, angry, or even enraged at the heroin epidemic in our area? And every time you see one of those news reports about Narcan being administered, for the third, fourth, fifth time, or even more, do you ever think, man, I wish those people would just die and save us non-addicted taxpayers some money? Well, I would be lying if I said I hadn't had a similar thought in the past 6 months. I wish I could say otherwise, but I can't. Because I'm right here in the middle of this addicted culture with you. And for over 30 years, I have had to figure out how to live this life surrounded by people and their addictions, all while struggling with my own. Now, this message, here's a disclaimer of what this message is not. It is not going to help you fix your addictions. And 3 people just got up and walked out. It's not going to help you fix the people in your life that struggle with addictions. It's not what this message is going to do. Those messages are for another series that will probably come along. No, today I'm going to talk to you how to deal with friends and family members who struggle with addiction. And I'm going to challenge you and me to do some incredibly simple yet insanely difficult things to pull off. You were wise to come to church this morning, because if we as a church can figure these things out, it will change the whole game for this community and this church. Now, you might not think so, but the Bible actually has something to say about how we deal with people who struggle with addictions. In Galatians 6, 1 through 5, Paul says the following: "Live creatively, friends. If someone falls into sin, forgivingly restore him, saving your critical comments for yourself. You might be needing forgiveness before the day is out. Stoop down and reach out to those who are oppressed. Share their burdens and so complete Christ's law. If you think you are too good for that, you are badly deceived. Make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given, and then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself, and don't compare yourself to others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life." Wow. Galatians is considered by most scholars to be Paul's first letter, the first letter that he wrote. And he came out swinging in this letter. He did not mess around. My first 2 years in college, I was one of the better musicians at the school where I went. I went to community college, so you can make whatever joke you want there about being the best at whatever. But I was one of the better musicians in the jazz program there, and most of the other people in that program thought the same of themselves. And since we all thought we were the best, none of us really tried that hard to get better. So what ends up happening when you do that is you get a bunch of people playing instruments at the same time, but we weren't making music, right? Then in my third year of college, I transferred to YSU, and I made it into Jazz Ensemble 1. Jazz Ensemble 1 at YSU is like the top tier big band. And so the cool thing about that group was, even though everybody was really good, like nobody tried to impress anybody else with how good they were. We all just wanted to make music. Oh, I'm sorry, except for me. I tried to do that because I'm a word I won't say. But let's just say I tried like the first couple weeks to be like, yeah, I'm good, and then they were all like, yeah, so are we. What's your point? And then I realized that the culture here is not one of, let's impress people. It's one of like, what are we gonna do with this? Let's make some music. Let's do something good with it, right? When we saw one member of the group working extra hard to make the music better, we wanted to work extra hard to make the music better. When we saw somebody in the group screwing around, being a detriment to the group, we cornered them. And we said, don't do that. This is our group. This isn't your playground. All right, so that's similar to what Paul is saying here in Galatians. Everyone working together for the betterment of the community, because they realize that no one person is better than anyone else. This mentality speaks directly to how we should treat people who struggle with addiction. Let's break down the passage a little bit to see how. First, Paul says, if someone falls, then forgivingly restore him or her. The word translated here as forgivingly can be translated as gently. This means any would-be restorer must not be harsh, snarky, short-tempered, or basically me. It should not be any emotion that shows contempt for the fallen individual. Why? Because you never know when your neck is going to be the next one on the chopping block. This is actually extremely important for those who have already had their neck on the chopping block. Can't tell you the number of people I know who have struggled with something, whether it's addiction or anything else, come through the other side and live through this, and then they point the finger so harshly at people who haven't defeated their struggle yet. It's like, dude, don't you even remember what that was like? Like, congratulations, you're awesome now, but don't be a jerk about it. Those of us who show malice and contempt for the hurting will be the biggest targets of those same things when we fall. Oh, and don't make the mistake of thinking you're not going to fall. Don't do that. You're a human being. Human beings will fall. We will disappoint. We will mess up. We will fall. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how hard and when. Now I'm going to tell you a story of what forgiving and gentle restoration looks like. Now, some of you were in here earlier when my stepdad was sitting here. He's standing in the back now, so you can all turn around and look at that guy standing right there. That's my dad. Say hi, Sean. Thanks. I told him he wasn't going to have to speak today. I lied. No, hi, that's it. That's all you got. My stepdad, here's the thing. Here's how I heard this story told as I was kind of growing up. It's that he went to work drunk one day. His boss noticed and offered to put him through rehab or fire him on the spot. Now, turns out, like many memories children have, that was completely false. Like there was a story there, but it wasn't. None of the details I had were correct. And actually, the truth of it is both far worse and far better than what I grew, which is probably good for me that I didn't know some of the specifics at the time. As it happens, my dad had been in the habit of drinking about a 6-pack a day before work. And he operates machinery. So, man, I mean, that's pretty messed up. 6-pack of beer before going to work. And his boss knew from the very beginning that he had a problem. His bosses would encourage him to get help if he thought he needed it. But they also knew that he would not be helped unless he thought he had a problem. So they never said, you have a problem, you should go do this. They were like, hey, if you think you need it, you should probably do that. Then one day, he went overboard even for him. Like, how drunk do you have to be that you drink yourself sober? That's actually the thought I had when he's telling me this story, is he knew he was too drunk to go to work, which is saying something when you're used to drinking a six-pack a day, right? So he attempted to call off. And who answered the phone but the owner of the company? The owner of the company answers the phone, and like most alcoholics, my father had a ton of excuses that he would dole out to people as he needed them when drinking got in the way of real life. But this is what my dad tells me. He tells me, on that day, I must have run out of excuses, and I told him that I couldn't stop drinking and I needed help. Again, I say, how drunk do you have to be to drink yourself sober? I hear that and I'm like, wow, that's both tragic and awesome. You know, it was worse and better than what I thought. The owner told him to do whatever he needed to do to get help and to just let him know what he decided to do. And so that's the start of what my dad calls his new and wonderful life, because he took him up on getting clean, and he checked himself into rehab. And my dad says it isn't always wonderful, but the best day sober is better than his best day high or drunk. Oh, and his boss held on to his job for him while my dad was in rehab. And now Sean has been working at that laminating company for 21 years. And he didn't tell me this, but I would have to imagine that because of what he went through and what the company did for him at that time, he would have to retire or they'd have to close down altogether for him to stop working there. My dad is here today as an example of what happens when somebody puts people over profit. The owner of that company could have taken the corporate mindset of money over people and fired him on the spot and said, I'll get somebody else to do it. But he didn't. He said, do what you need to do to get help. We'll wait for you. That's huge. I mean, if we could just get that one thing as a society, everybody would be lifted up. Everybody would. Second, Paul says, carry each other's burdens, which is a fulfillment of Christ's law. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Part of loving others is helping to bear the weight of life when they cannot bear it fully themselves. The reality is that none of us can bear the full weight of life, not completely alone. And that's true whether you struggle with addiction or not, but it's especially true if you struggle with addiction. Now, one of the cruelest things about addiction is that we tend to isolate ourselves within the addiction at the time when we need people the most. Unless otherwise redirected by an outside force, most addicts will live the entire time thinking that they are in control of the addiction. And that is a huge, huge lie. Doesn't matter the addiction. Addictions tell us what to spend our money on, where to go, who to be around, and how to act. And this is true of any addiction, whether it's crack or coffee. Now, as far as addictions go, you think, coffee. First of all, nobody's addicted to coffee. You just need it, right? I've never heard an addict say that. But the reality is, it goes, here, let me tell you what. If you don't think my coffee isolates me from folks, listen to this. I started drinking coffee regularly at home years ago. I always made fun of the people who went to Starbucks, or as I heard it referred to one time as $5, because everything there is at least $5. I used to make fun of those people, right? Now I go there at least, capital L, at least 6 to 10 times a month. And I wrote week initially, and I was like, no, that's too, and then I was like, oh, maybe, sometimes I do go like 6 times a week. And I don't usually just get the cheap $2.55 venti dark roast black. I've ordered that a few times, you can tell. I normally get the $5 venti mocha, because sugar and caffeine together are an excellent combination. When I'm not going, and actually, I'm sorry, that doesn't include Angela's drink either. In all of that 6 to 10, that's just me 6 to 10 times. Double that with Angela, and sometimes we get Carmen hot chocolates there, because you gotta hook them early. You gotta hook them early. Every time we go there and he doesn't get one, he's just like so sad. So we give them the little stir thing, the cup plug thing that they put in there. Like, all our kids know that's the toy that you get when you go to Starbucks. It's like the toy in the Happy Meal. It's, oh, God, we are failing. When I'm not going to Starbucks, we go to Dunkin' Donuts, the Daily Grind, McDonald's, Burger King, High Octane, Joe Max, Stone Fruit. I know them all, and I know where they all are, and I know most of their hours except the Daily Grind. They have really weird hours, but go there because they're nice people. My coffee addiction tells me where to spend my money. I don't even want to do the math on how much money I spend a month on coffee. Coffee addiction tells me where to go. I bet my mileage going to and from coffee places in a month exceeds that of the mileage I use doing extra stuff for this church. Like I come to work every day, a couple times a day. I come from Boardman to here, but the other things that I do for the church, I know that my mileage to all those coffee places exceeds the extra mileage I use at this church. My coffee addiction tells me who to be around. If you don't have coffee at your house, your restaurant, your social function, I will judge you hard. And I won't want to be there. So, if I'm coming to your house, you better have coffee. Kara Sheasley learned that real fast when we were having Monday night small group at her house. And she would actually have a cup waiting for me when I got there. She was an enabler, I have to say. I love her for it. But, and coffee addiction tells me how to act, how to interact with people. Because, oh my goodness, if you've ever had to deal with me in the morning before I've had coffee, I apologize. Now, Karen raised her hand, but I would be willing to bet that Karen and Vicky both would say that me on coffee in the morning isn't that much of a treat anyway. So, and Karen, though, she has seen me at my darkest. She has seen me walk through the valley, and it's not pleasant, you know? Of course, I've seen her without coffee, too, so you get the two of us in there, and it's like, don't do it. So let's just look at that one addiction of mine, and I have others, as Angela pointed out. Because of my coffee addiction, I have less money to give or use to spend quality time with people other than more coffee addicts. I have a few less hours a month to be available for things in my life because I spend those hours in drive-thrus, lines, and order pickup areas. I don't want to spend time with people who do not share my addiction, and if I have to, I'm going to be a jerk about it. And I need it to function with people or at all, if I'm being completely honest. Without it, I do nothing. So, laugh and tell me again how my coffee addiction does not serve to isolate me from others. But here's where a problem arises. If an addict doesn't want help, which I do not want help with my coffee addiction, I don't. I'm telling you right now, I don't want it. If an addict doesn't want help, an addict can't be helped. Shay, keep your 12 steps to yourself. It is denial. I'm full acceptance that I have a problem with this. I'm also in full acceptance that I don't care at the moment, which means nobody can touch me. Like, nobody can help me with this. They can say whatever they want, right, about it. They can say, you spend $300 on coffee. Man, I hope that's not true, but I might. You spend $300. You know what you could do with that $300? Maybe your kids would have clothes that fit. Or haircuts that didn't make them look homeless. But if an addict doesn't want help, an addict can't be helped. If an addicted person, a person struggling with addiction, has been gently and forgivingly approached and they still don't want help, then they have chosen to carry that burden alone, at least for now. So don't mistake carrying another's burdens for taking responsibility for their recovery. You are not responsible for another person's recovery. Carrying another's burdens does not mean opening yourself up to harm from people who have the more nefarious addictions. And in my case, carrying my burden with me doesn't mean making sure I'm caffeinated. That's enabling. So what does carrying another's burdens look like? Well, that depends on the addiction and the person. Unfortunately, there is no one-size-fits-all model for this. But the core components of carrying another's burdens are presence and availability. So when your friend or your family member finally responds favorably to that gentle call of restoration, or that hammer to the head that finally says, I can't do this anymore, Our job is to be available and present in their lives as much as they need us to be. It does not mean enabling, it means walking alongside them as they undergo the restorative process. So third, Paul says we are to examine ourselves first in order to be any good to anyone else. I find it very interesting that Paul tells his would-be restorers to worry about themselves first. Because what Paul is encouraging here is a humble spirit. If we're working on ourselves, we will not have time to judge the perceived failings of others. If we're not comparing ourselves to others, then we will not get puffed up and arrogant. And one of the community killers for churches and just in relationships in general is what I call the at least I syndrome. At least I. At least I didn't get an abortion. At least I don't drink alone. Just when my friends come over every week. At least I only smoke my pipe when my friends are around. I swear to God, that's one of mine. I wrote that about me because that's what I say about me smoking a pipe, is that I only do it when my friends come over, which is true, but doesn't make it any, it's like binge drinking. I only drink when my friends are around. I just happen to drink everything. You know, that's still a problem. At least I waited till I was married to have kids. Man, most of these I wrote because I've said these at one point or another. At least I dress up for church. Never said that. I said the next one, though. At least I don't care what people wear at church. At least I read my Bible every day. Yay. At least I didn't kill anyone. At least I statements are attempts to cover up the things we are doing by comparing them to the more horrible things that we are not. We get into the mindset that if we're not doing the worst things, then we're not doing anything worth noting. But the reality is that we all have something. We all have something that needs examining. Most of us have at least one addiction that needs addressed, and many of us, including me, have more than one. So instead of snapping off that Facebook post about how awful I think the parents who OD'd in their car while their toddler sat strapped in the back seat were, perhaps I should try and figure out what it is I'm anesthetizing by drinking so much coffee. Or why the adrenaline rush I get from placing a bet in Texas Hold'em eclipses the one I get when my kids smile at me after figuring out something for the first time. I cannot and you cannot lead others where we are not willing to go ourselves. Getting your own crap together is crucial if you ever want to help someone from a position of love rather than a position of loathing. So here's the bottom line. If you remember nothing else I say today, remember this. People with addictions are not the enemy. People with addictions are you and me. People with addictions are not the enemy. They are you and me. We need to love them like we love ourselves. And if you don't love yourself, that's another sermon. I don't have time to get into that today. But just know you are loved, so you should love. So imagine if we all loved people with addictions like we love ourselves. Imagine if we all loved people with addictions the way we want others to love us. Imagine what your families and friendships would look like if you loved people with addiction enough to help gently restore them to their best self. There would be no arrogance or hatred because your concern would be one of love and not position. Imagine what this church would look like if we were actually fully present and available to each other in our times of greatest need. Imagine if that burden was carried by all of us rather than just a few. There are a few of you in this church who are like always there. You're available anytime anything happens, anytime somebody's hurt, anytime somebody needs something. There are a handful or two that they lead the charge. Imagine, think of it. Imagine what this church would look like if every single person did that. Man, we would have so much going on, so much love, so much gratitude, so much support. We wouldn't contain it in these walls. It would be impossible. It would spill out naturally to this community. Imagine Imagine what that would look like. Imagine how much more grace we would give each other if we spent more time recognizing our own areas of weakness. Imagine what could happen if we all finally realize that we are all in this thing together and that we need each other desperately. Not a little bit, not a bunch. We need each other desperately. We were created in community. We were created for relationships. When we don't have those and we don't exercise those, when we don't nurture those, we're dying. We are dying. Imagine what this church would look like if we truly bought into the shared identity of child of God rather than buying into the addictions that separate us. Now, I'm going to leave you with a story that might not sound that hopeful, but bear with me, because you've come this far. All right, I've told you a little bit about my stepfather's addiction history as I know it. Well, my mother married him when I was 12, which was 2 years after my dad died, and probably less than 2 years before she became a full-blown alcoholic herself. Might have been even sooner than that, I don't know. I don't remember. And I used to blame my stepdad for her alcoholism. I did. But then as I got older, I learned just how juvenile that thinking is, because no one makes you an addict. You are responsible for that. However, I do believe that circumstances, a series of circumstances, made dealing with those circumstances drunk a lot easier than dealing with them sober. To make a long story short, my relationship with my mom crashed and burned and never fully recovered. I harbored so much resentment toward my stepdad and my mother for robbing me of what I considered to be a normal childhood. I know now that there's no such thing as a normal childhood. We all do the best we can and hope to survive it. That resentment was so easy to hold on to because I never bothered looking inward. I never bothered looking inward at my own shortcomings. I love to say that my first steps into Christianity solved all that. I was a gentle, grace-filled, Christ-like individual. But no, it made things way worse between me and my mom because I was so judgmental. I was such an arrogant jerk to my mom, probably for like 20 years. So we're not talking about a short amount of time. 20 years, 2 decades. I kept pointing the finger at her and telling her what a horrible and weak person she was for being an addict, for being an alcoholic. Basically, I was doing the exact opposite of what Paul teaches here in Galatians. Fast forward to about 6 years ago, I fell hard. I fell really hard in such a way that made me stop and look at myself to figure out what the heck I was doing with my life. As a side effect of this self-examination, some of the resentments that I had harbored for so long began to diminish. Some of them went away, some of them just lessened. Now, they're not all completely gone, those resentments, but neither are my addictions. So how could the resentments be gone? I think my resentments and my addictions are linked. However, the diminishing of resentment allowed me to extend grace to my mother in a way that I was never able to before. It allowed me to be honest with her without being hurtful. It allowed me to see her hurt where once I only saw evil. In essence, my own self-reflection opened a window to a beautiful person that was hiding underneath the alcoholism. I was able to forgive and be gentle as I drew boundaries that she could choose to adhere to or not. I was able to be present and available to her should she wish to seek out my help carrying the burden of recovery if she chose to. By being forgiving, gentle, available, and present, it forced me deeper into my own self-reflection. In those times of reflection, I have spoken to God. He let me imagine a relationship with my mother that has not been seen maybe ever. He allowed me to take the steps closer to him that enabled me to take steps closer to her. When she died recently, all of that work was not wasted. even though she never chose recovery, it was not wasted because I know the process. Because now I know the process. This is one of those things where some people say everything happens for a reason. I don't like that saying. What I'll say is God makes a reason for everything. I think this is one of those things. My mom never chose recovery, and I'll always be saddened by that. But now I know the process. I'm better able to help others when I come across that, and I'm much better able to help you learn how to do that yourself, because I know that now. People with addictions are not the enemy. They are you and me. Forgive them. Gently restore them if they want restoration. Walk with them and help them carry the burdens of that arduous journey. Never stop looking in the mirror to see where you need to work something out. Imagine what all of that would look like. Pray with me. Lord, I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share some of the struggle that I know we all face in this church. Everybody in this church has been touched by somebody who struggles with addiction. Thank you for allowing me to enter into that with them. I pray that today, this week, and as we just move through life together, that you would help us forgive those who have hurt us and gently restore them, help them along. I ask that you help us examine ourselves ever deeper so that we understand that this is not us and them. There is no other. We are all in this together. I pray that your Spirit is with us and helps us understand that. And so that the next time we encounter somebody who has hurt us deeply or who is in the midst of the storm themselves, that we are able to be gentle, that we are able to forgive, that we are able to help them carry their burden, and that we know that by doing that we are helping ourselves as well. I pray for all those in our church right now that have been given a diagnosis or whose family has been given a diagnosis of something horrible. Pray for those who are afflicted with whatever they're dealing with. Help us come alongside them in that. I pray for those who have had procedures done this week, because it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing, uncertainty. It never seems fair when we're going through it. And sometimes it just isn't. Help us be there when life is not fair. I thank you for helping me reach out to people this week to learn more about what they've gone through so that it helps me be better for you. I pray all this and I give thanks in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Lord, take me as I am. Well, I'm not worthy of your love. They drove nails into your hands. I've only trampled on your blood. I've been so quick to curse your name. Because I saw an empty well. I was too blind to feel your rain. Lord, I deserve to burn in hell. But you still take me as I am. Despite the dark inside of me, a sinner dead and to be named. You asked to keep me company. Lord, don't take me as I am. This life does not belong to me. I welcome you into my heart. And Lord, I pray you never leave. 'Cause you still take me as I am. Despite the dark inside of me, a sinner dead and to be named. You asked to keep me company. And Lord, I know I have to change. Well, I see my sin and I hate it too. A dead man running toward the flames. I spit into your face. You loved me when I hated you. Glad you take me as I am. I'm grateful for the air I breathe. Oh, there is nothing that I deserve. There's still one thing I'd ask of thee. You bake me like bread to better feed your crowd, and make thee weep for souls that do not know your crowd, and make thee weep for souls and let them beat me down. Lord, help me hurt like you somehow. Lord, help me hurt like you somehow.
If you want to be a part of our final blessing, stand up and raise your hands. By the power of the Holy Spirit and through the authority of God as a minister of his church, I absolve you of your sins, whether real or perceived. Go in the grace of God and be Jesus to somebody else this week. Amen.